When the word of the Lord first called Elijah out from the comfort of his own land, he was sent to a desolate place of waiting. He found rest beside the brook Cherith, a secluded haven where the only sound was the gentle, persistent flow of water. Twice each day, an incredible miracle unfolded as obedient ravens brought him the necessary bread and meat for his survival. In that quiet dependency, Elijah learned the profound peace of trusting God for every single necessity of life. However, as the great drought tightened its grip across the entire region, even that small brook eventually ran dry, signaling a new command. He was directed onward to the town of Zarephath, to the home of a widow whose faith was about to be tested and magnified. Her meager measure of flour and her last bit of oil sustained them both through many days because of one simple act of giving. This period of faithful provision set the stage for a confrontation that would shake the very foundations of Israel's understanding. Elijah boldly called the prophets of Baal to meet him upon the heights of Mount Carmel for a definitive trial by fire. He meticulously rebuilt the Lord's altar, carefully soaking the stones and the wood with so much water that no doubt could remain. Then, with a voice filled not with anger but with unwavering conviction, he uttered a short, powerful prayer to the heavens. Instantly, the answer descended not as a flicker, but as a consuming divine fire that totally engulfed the offering and the altar itself. In that singular moment of undeniable power, the whole assembly acknowledged the one true God who answers with celestial might. Yet, a king's threat soon drove the prophet far away into the deep solitude of the wilderness once more. Exhausted by fear and the harsh journey, Elijah collapsed beneath a tree, praying that his long service might finally end there. An angel then ministered to him, providing cool water and nourishing food that gave him the strength to continue his mission. He journeyed 40 days and 40 nights, walking toward the very mountain where divine covenants had been previously declared. There on Horeb, the Lord revealed himself not in the tremendous shaking, but in the quietest of all audible sounds. Elijah understood that true power resides in the gentle, unwavering presence of God that permeates all of creation. He received his final divine commission there, which prepared him for the most extraordinary departure imaginable. He took his faithful apprentice, Elisha, who knew profoundly that a monumental spiritual event was approaching them both. As they approached the Jordan River, Elijah decisively used his mantle to command the flowing waters to separate before their feet. Upon reaching the far bank, Elijah turned to his devoted successor and asked for one final, weighty thing. Elisha asked not for power, but for a double portion of the spirit that rested so powerfully upon his departing mentor. Suddenly, a whirlwind began to gather energy, signaling the very moment the natural world would yield to the supernatural. Behold, a chariot, forged entirely of brilliant glowing fire, appeared to ascend from the earthbound scene. Elijah was taken up alive in this magnificent vehicle, lifted swiftly away from his earthly ministry and into the heavens. Elisha watched his master vanish into that celestial glory, crying out in awe and reverence for the parting vision. As the divine spectacle faded completely, the only tangible thing remaining was the heavy mantle Elijah had dropped to the ground. This symbol of a passed-on power remained as proof that God faithfully provides, sustains, and ultimately receives his dedicated servants.